So let's take a look at the Phrygian as well. Phrygian is the third scale degree of any key. So that was the Phrygian, and I'm sure you're already starting to see the uniqueness in all these modes and how they carry a lot of emotions with them. Hi, welcome to Samsol Music Hub. So are you someone who cringes at the sound of the word modes and probably avoids using it altogether when you play? Honestly, I used to do the same, and I get it. Modes can sound overly technical and complex if no one has broken them down properly for you to understand. So would you give me some minutes of your time and I'll demystify modes for you? I'll show you what they are, how they sound, and how you can actually use them when you play. I'll also demonstrate each concept to you on the piano, backed up with practical examples and readily available songs. So grab your instruments, grab your notepads, and let's dive right in. So what exactly are modes? Let's start with the basics, which are scales. A scale is simply a group of notes arranged in a sequence using specific intervals like whole steps and half steps. For example, the major scale, which is a very popular scale that we use in music a lot of times, uses the pattern whole, whole, half steps, whole, 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 half steps, alright? The whole is just the short form for whole steps. Another way to say that is the tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Now let's break that down. What is a semitone? A semitone is the shortest distance between two keys or two notes. Alright, so for instance, between C and C sharp is a semitone, right? Because there's nothing in between those. But between C and D is a whole tone or a tone, right? Because we had to jump this key to get to this. So this is a whole tone while this is a semitone. Let's take another example. The distance between E and F is a semitone or a half tone, while the distance between E and F sharp is a whole tone or a full tone, right? So it's not a function of white and black notes, it's a function of the distance between the notes. So if you have to jump a note to get to another note, that makes it a whole tone. But if you're going directly to the notes without jumping anything, that's a half tone. So this is a semitone, but this is a whole tone. I had to jump this. This is a whole tone because I had to jump this. All right, so that is how the whole tones and semitones work. Okay, so on the key of C, to get the major scale, that will give us C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, and that major scale will give us the C Ionian. All right, this is the C Ionian. Now, if we take the same exact sets of notes and move them up a step, remember, we're not changing any notes, we're only changing the starting position. So meaning, instead of C starting this, D starts it and D ends it at the same time. So that will give us this. That will be the D Dorian. Nothing changes, just the starting and ending position, D. If we do the same thing for the key of E, making E the first note and the last note, same set of notes, just the different starting position, that gives us E Phrygian, on and on. So if we keep on doing this, we'll be getting different modes just based on the starting and ending position, not altering any notes. All right, so there's a very recurrent question that comes up a lot of times when it comes to modes and why the major scale modes are the most used in modern music, right, in education and even in performances. While it's true that modes exist in different kinds of scales, not just the major scale, you know, we have modes from the melodic minor as well as harmonic minor scales, even non-Western scales. But the major scale modes, also called the church modes or diatonic modes, are the most widely used and taught in music theory. Now, why is that? That is because the major scale is the foundation of most Western music. Alright, it's also familiar to our ears because it's used in pop, rock, gospel, jazz, even film music as well. So each mode derived from the major scale gives composers a rich palette of sounds from dark to bright, from dreamy to dramatic to work with. So that is why the major scale is the most practical set to choose and to work with. Now, since we've established why the major scale modes are the most commonly used and most widely known type of modes in modern music, now let's take a look at them. There are 7 of them in number and they have different sounds. Right now we're going to be looking at them practically how they sound on the piano. So we're going to start with, all of them will be on the key of C for now. So what that gives us is the C Ionian. Now the mode is bright. And I must say that most of the songs, or a lot of the songs, use this mode. Right. Now let's go to the second degree. So if we start the scale from the second degree, same set of notes, nothing changes. But now, since we've shifted to the second degree, now we're seeing this as our tonal center instead of this. So it's like we're on the key of D, but we're not playing the key of D major, or we're playing the Dorian mode on the key of D, right? They are two different things. So we have a tonal center of D, but we're on a Dorian mode. So that will sound this way. Already you can see how powerful it is, just playing around with the notes there, not even trying to compose anything at all and not changing the progression, just staying on the roots, and already we have something great to work with, right? So that is the Dorian mode. Let's look at the third degree. That is the Phrygian. That's the E Phrygian. So same set of notes starting on the third degree gives us E Phrygian. So E is now our tonal center. Right, let's go to the fourth degree. That's the Lydian. So we have So the Lydian is very similar to the Ionian, only that it has a raised fourth. Okay, Mixolydian is from the fifth degree. So as we've said earlier, same set of notes, just a different starting position. Okay, Aeolian is from the sixth degree of the major scale on C or any other key. Now, Locrian is the seventh scale degree. And if we go on, we're back to the Ionian. Another thing I would like you to know is that the major scale modes can be grouped into two broad categories, which are the major type modes and the minor type modes. Okay, so the major type modes contain a major third interval from the tonic. All of them do that, and they generally convey a bright, open, and resolved sound. Okay, so the modes that fall under the major type mode category are the Ionian, which is a pure major scale, and it has a bright, happy, and resolved mood to it. Right. The second mode that falls under the major type category is the Lydian. Now, the Lydian is a major scale with a raised fourth. Now, the third mode in the major type category is the Mixolydian. The Mixolydian is a major scale with a lowered seventh, and it sounds bluesy, funky, and a bit unresolved, and it's also a bright sound. Now, on the other hand, we have the minor type modes as well, and these modes generally contain a minor third away from the tonic. So the first mode in this minor type category is the Dorian, which is essentially a minor scale with a raised sixth, and it sounds soulful, and it has its unique flavor that it adds. The second mode in this category is the Phrygian, which is a minor scale with a lowered second, and it has this exotic and dark sound. It also has a bit of tense feel to it. Okay, the third mode in this category is the Aeolian, which is essentially your natural minor scale, and that has this sad and melancholic feel. The last mode in this category is the Locrian, which is your minor scale with a flat second and a diminished fifth. Okay, so it has a very unstable sound and very dissonant as well. Now, this classification helps musicians quickly determine the harmonic color and mood of each mode. So that is why it's very essential for musicians to know modes very well, because it gives them a broader palette for their composition endeavors. So what this means is, if a music is to be composed in a major mode, then any of the modes that fall under the major type category can be utilized for color, and you can use more than one. So you can decide to combine the Lydian and the Mixolydian together, or the Ionian and the Mixolydian, based on what you're trying to achieve. As well as the minor, you can decide to employ both the Aeolian and the Phrygian at the same time, or even decide to use the Phrygian and the Locrian at the same time. Okay, so essentially you are free to choose any mode you want, as long as it tallies with the emotion you're trying to convey and it tallies with the broad category, then the choice is yours. Now we're coming to the most important section of this lesson, which is the application. How do you apply modes? For instance, let's say you're writing a song or improvising. How do you know which mode to use? That is a very important decision you need to take. So first thing is to start with the emotion. So ask yourself, what do you want to sound like? Do you want to sound bright? Do you want to sound jazzy? Do you want to sound dark or soulful? So you choose the right mode based on the mode that you want to convey, and you're free to use the mode table that I shared with you earlier. I'm going to make that available with a link in the description, so you are free to check that out. Okay, second thing is, you're supposed to map out your chords. Okay, so for every mode there are a set of chords that go along with that mode, and what those chords are similar to what a color palette is for an artist. Okay, so for a musician, the chords available to you within a mode are like your palettes that you can pick from. So those chords are what are going to help you to shape your musical color and convey your emotions appropriately. Okay, so right now I'm going to show you briefly how to map out the chords that are associated with the modes that you have. So we're going to be picking the D Dorian mode and using it as an example. That's the D Dorian. Okay, that's the D Dorian. Remember, our tonal center is D, but then we're not looking at D major, we're looking at the D Dorian mode. Okay, so the first chord there is D minor. Next we have the E minor. It's possible to get seventh chords, but for now we're going to stick to triads because that makes it easier. In later videos I'm going to show you how to get more advanced chords out of your modes. Okay, so D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, C major. Okay, I'm going to start with a progression on the 1 that moves to the 2, that moves to the 3, then goes to the 4th and comes back to the 1. Okay, so on the right hand I'm going to play a melody. So that's a simple example of how you can really utilize modes in your composition. What did we do? We mapped out the chords that are available within the Dorian mode. Then we formed a progression that sounded good based on what we're trying to compose. We added a melody to the progression and we got a composition that sounded unique and awesome. So that's a very good template that you can use anytime you want to do a composition using modes. Now I'm going to show you two songs that used the Mixolydian mode in their composition. And the mode I'm going to be using is the C Mixolydian to demonstrate the song by the artist Dorian. Okay, so that's the C Mixolydian. All right. Now let us map out the chords that are available for us to use on the C Mixolydian. All right. So the first is, and the C Mixolydian falls under the major type category. Okay. So this sound is going to be happy, resolved, and reasonably bright. Okay. So the first is the C major. The second is the D minor. The third is the E diminished. The fourth is the F major. Fifth is the G minor. Sixth is the E, the A minor. Seventh is the B flat major, and back to the tonal center, which is the C major. All right. So now this song I'm going to use as an example is by Dorian, and it's Worthy is the Lamb. It goes, worthy is the, from here it goes to the fifth degree, which from the chords that we saw now is going to be a minor. Okay, worthy is the lamb was slain. Then it goes to B flat major, which is the seventh chord available on the C Mixolydian. All right, worthy, worthy is he, and it comes back to fourth. Worthy is the. Now I'm playing them in the root positions so that you can easily see the chords, right? So C, worthy is the, to the fifth. G minor, lamb was slain, to the seventh. B flat major, holy, holy is he, to the fourth. So that's the progression. Now it goes to the chorus. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Oh, all creation shall sing praise to the King of Kings. You are my everything, and I will adore you. Ooh, oh, oh. All right, so that was just a simple example by Dorian. So finally, I would like to demonstrate this with the Phrygian sound as well. So that will be the second minor mode we'll be checking. All right, so we're going to be using the C Phrygian, and the C Phrygian will be, that's the C Phrygian. Now let's map out the chords that are available for us to use on the C Phrygian mode. Okay, so first is going to be a C minor. All right, next is a C sharp major. Next is a E flat or D sharp major. Right, next is F minor. Next is G diminished. Next is A flat. Next is G sharp major. Next is B flat major, and finally back to C minor. Right? So those are the chords that are available for us to use within the C Phrygian mode. Now, it doesn't mean you have to use all the chords. Basically, what you want to do after mapping out the chords is to try a few of those combinations to see what really resonates with you and maybe sends a message across to you. If it does that, it's likely going to send a message across to your audience as well. So first of all, I'll stay on the one so we can get a feel of how the Phrygian mode sounds. And to get the emotions, you have to really tickle those notes that are altered. Okay, so for the Phrygian of C, the second is altered, the third is altered, right? The sixth is altered. Yeah, so those basic ones should be explored so you see really what the Phrygian sound is. And remember, Phrygian is a minor sound, so let's see what the Phrygian is like. All right, so all that way notes within the Phrygian, and I've not even moved away from the chord one. So that means if I then start to explore with the other chords, then I have different palettes to work with. All right, so then we start to explore with this. Okay. Okay, so let's try another progression. So in conclusion, here are the things you should remember about modes. First is, modes are just scales starting out on different notes. Also, each mode has its own unique intervallic structure and emotions that are attached to it. So this gives you, as a composer or musician, a wider selection of emotions to work with, beyond just the major and the minor. Alright, that brings us to the end of today's video, and I hope it has been helpful and insightful. If it has, please give this video a thumbs up. Also, I would appreciate if you subscribe to my channel, because that makes YouTube recommend my videos to other people like you who are definitely going to need them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week, even as I bring you other insightful and exciting videos that will accelerate your music journey. So bye for now.